John Thune.
Thanks, Ted.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to joining Ted and John Cornyn and 18 of my colleagues going to the border, and I hope that President Biden will come to the border too. As Ted pointed out, part of the Biden border crisis consists of a media blackout, which doesn't make a lot of sense, considering that it has become a major crisis for the country, so much so that they sent the Federal Emergency Management Agency down to the border. This is a crisis of their own making. As Senator Cruz pointed out, if you look at the Biden policies, they have completely halted construction of the border wall. They have frozen deportations. They have done away with, rolled back the Remain in Mexico policy, all policies of the previous administration that were working and had been effective. And as a consequence now, CBP, Customs and Border Protection, and HHS facilities are overcrowded and overrun. Personnel is spread way too thin, and there are lots of migrant families and unaccompanied children who are stranded at the border in overcrowded facilities. It is an emergency. It is a crisis. It is one of their own making. And I believe, and I think that most of my colleagues believe, that we have to have a policy that allows for border security. I offered an amendment to the 2013 bill that would have required the building of hundreds of miles of border fence before other elements of the immigration policy could be put into place. But I think strong borders is something the American people support. Having a policy that includes border security accompanied by asylum reform is a plan and a strategy that perhaps could work. But I can tell you right now what they're doing isn't working, and the evidence is there. I only wish all of you would have a chance to see it when we go look at it later this week. Thanks.
Well, 18 of us will be heading to the border tomorrow. We're going to thank the Border Patrol agents for what they're doing on a daily basis and to hear from them what they are up against in their fight. We're going to then spread out and do a midnight patrol with border agents tomorrow night along the border between Mexico and Texas. We're going to examine the areas where the wall construction has stopped. We're going to go to a processing facility and other locations around to see exactly what is happening, and we invited the press to join us because we think it's important for you to be able to film and observe and report to America what is happening there. As a result of the crisis, the Biden administration says no. No, the press can't attend, and no, the American people cannot see for themselves the crisis that the Biden policies have created. This is a crisis. It is part of an agenda, an amnesty agenda that started the day that President Biden took office. He turned on the green light and said, "Come to America." He stopped construction of the wall. He stopped deportations. He stopped the very successful Remain in Mexico program that worked so well. And that is why we are right now on a track to have 2 million illegal immigrants come to this country this year.
Steve Daines from Montana. You're probably asking, what's a northern border state guy doing on a southern border trip? You realize that it is more difficult at this moment for a U.S. citizen to re-enter the United States because it requires a passport and a COVID test than it is for an illegal immigrant to cross our southern border. Remember, the northern border is shut down at the moment. We want to see the northern border opened up so Canadians can come back into Montana and spend their tourism dollars. But we are a northern border state at the moment with a southern border crisis. What I mean by that is I just got off the phone last night with a couple of our county sheriffs. They talk about the flood of Mexican cartel meth, heroin, and fentanyl. It's not only coming across the southern border in places like Texas, but it's moving all the way up to Montana within days. In fact, one of my county sheriffs is holding 7 Mexican cartel members in one of their jails most recently. So this directly affects a northern state like Montana. The meth that used to be homemade in places like Montana had purity levels less than 30%. The Mexican cartel meth has purity levels north of 90%. It's far more dangerous, far more addictive. It's cheaper because they're making so much of it and flooding across that southern border because every minute that Border Patrol is using to stop an illegal coming across that border, it gives the opportunity to these cartels to move more drugs that come right up to Montana. So I'll be joining the delegation tomorrow to the southern border. I'm grateful for Senator Cruz's leadership on this visit. And maybe with 18 U.S. senators there on the border, maybe we'll be able to get the Biden administration to say we ought to have the media there as well.
As someone who has spent 2 years living along the U.S.-Mexico border, I can tell you that there's no group of people more directly affected by uncontrolled waves of illegal immigration than those people who live on or near the border. Those are people who see first and perhaps feel most acutely the ramifications that these uncontrolled waves of illegal immigration will have on their schools, on the security of their neighborhoods, on their own jobs. This is not a cost-free proposition for them, nor is it a cost-free proposition for the poor men, women, and children who are trafficked by these drug cartels who are bringing them up, who, by the way, are earning significant profit. According to one recent estimate over the last month or so, these smugglers are bringing in an estimated $14 million a week every single week that it continues on this pace. It's not cost-free for the people being smuggled. It's not cost-free for these communities who are affected by it. These are real, breathing, feeling human beings who, by the way, disproportionately suffer acts of physical violence and sexual abuse among those who are being trafficked. According to one estimate, 30% of the girls and women brought through these cartels are subject to sexual assault as they go along with it. This isn't right. We've got to make sure that our own laws are being applied. So, look, if they're not going to allow the press into these facilities, that really is unfortunate. We'll do what we can to be your eyes and ears and communicate the information we're able to acquire while we're there.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Ted for organizing this trip and this press conference as well. What is so sad about the crisis, the disaster that is on the border, and it is a crisis, it is a disaster, but we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg, is that not only was this predictable, it was predicted. I know the Biden administration is saying they're doing this because they want to be more humane. They are guaranteeing inhumanity. All the problems that have been described here so far, the drug trafficking, the human trafficking, the sex trafficking, this was all revealed to us over the last few years. As Chairman of Homeland Security, I held close to 36 hearings on this, made multiple trips to the border. It's going to be sad going down to the border again, and this is just deja vu. We'll see different people, but suffering under the same circumstances, the same inhumanity because of President Biden's policies. Now, one of the things I've done over the last 6 years as Chairman of Homeland Security is develop the data. I asked DH Secretary Mayorkas during this confirmation hearing guarantee two things. First of all, that you will enforce the law. I think it's open to debate whether he's truly doing that. And secondly, to continue to provide me data so I can keep this chart up to date. And we've got a copy of this for everybody. But what this chart shows is, in gold are single adults, blue are family units, and red are unaccompanied children. This dates back to 2012 when DACA, Deferred Action on Childhood Arrivals, sparked all of these crises. Remember, 2014, President Obama declared that a humanitarian crisis when we were getting 1,000 people a day, and Jay Johnson was saying that was a really bad day. Now we're getting over 4,000 people per day, and we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. So I encourage all of you to take a look at this chart. It's got cause and effect. It explains this. You may not be able to get to the border because the Biden administration is preventing you from seeing this, but you can see the cause and effect, the numbers that are behind what is a humanitarian crisis today, 4 or 5 times worse than what President Obama declared back in 2014. Oh, by the way, one of the facilities we're going to be visiting will be the McAllen, Texas facility. Back in 2014, when I went down there in Codell with other Democrat colleagues, everybody was hailing the innovation and all the work that CBP had done to try and handle the 1,000 people a day. This is the same facility that under President Trump, Democrats said we were putting children in cages. Well, it's even worse today under the Biden administration. But again, thank you, Ted, for arranging this.
So I'm going down to the Texas border to take a look because I can't look on any media and be able to tell what's going on because not a single member of the media is allowed to be able to go to take a look at this facility. That's not true of any of the 4 previous administrations. Anytime media wanted to be able to visit any of these facilities, they were allowed to go. This administration, in the last 24 hours, said, we'll show you what's going on. So they sent a government camera reporter to take government photos and send it out to the media and say, here's your video that you can run with it. I would hope that the media doesn't just say, okay, now we know what's going on because someone in the Biden team took pictures and sent it to us, that you would actually anticipate having the ability to be able to go cover the story yourself. So we're going to be able to see it. The odd thing was the very first day of the Biden presidency, he declared the emergency was over on the border. That was the stoppage of the construction on the border wall. In that order, he said there is no more emergency on the border. In that declaration, he also started the process of announcing a large-scale amnesty bill across the United States for individuals that are also here already, and then announced individuals 17 years old and younger would not be stopped at the border as they were in the past. The combination of those 3 things sparked what we have now. How do I know that? Go back to February of last year. Before COVID, we had less than 40,000 people apprehended at the border that month. February of this year, with nothing changing between the two, February of this year, over 100,000 people apprehended at that same border. 10 days ago, I was in Arizona to be able to see the stoppage of the wall at that spot, to be able to know for that particular area when they stopped construction on January the 20th, what does it look like? Here's what happened. On January the 20th, they turned off all the technology installations that were there. What my Democrat colleagues have said, we just need to do technology, not a wall, not a fence. That day on January the 20th, they were doing preparation to be able to lay down the ground sensors, install cameras, and install lights across the border. All of that stopped on January the 20th. What is remaining in Arizona right now is a fence without gates. Literally, the gates were the only thing left to install. So we have miles and miles and miles of fence on our southern border right next to a town of 450,000 people in Mexico with a wall with no gates. There is no reason except one why you would install a wall with open gates and no technology. That is if you wanted an open border. There's no other explanation for that. The cartels clearly understand that as well, and they're sending people by the thousands to us. This is a humanitarian crisis, an emergency that has been created. And though the Biden team said there is no emergency, oddly enough, 2 weeks ago they sent the Federal Emergency Management Agency to go help out. So you can't say there's no emergency and then send FEMA down to the border to take care of an emergency.
2 ironies of this overall crisis. One is when you look at the Biden administration on international issues, they call for transparency, particularly as it relates to China, the Uyghurs, the pandemic, how it started, what's going on in Hong Kong. And by the way, we support that, right? We need that. But when you ask for transparency on what's going on in our own country, not China, which we all want, our own country, they're saying no. They're saying no, especially to you guys, which should be quite offensive. Second, as Steve Daines mentioned, it's not getting a lot of press. We have an open southern border. We have a closed northern border. And no state in the country, more than mine, Alaska, is getting negatively impacted by that. We can't get tourists up. We can't leave. It's very difficult. The priorities are backwards. We need to close the southern border, President Biden, and open the northern border for Americans like my constituents. So these are the ironies that are impacting this crisis, and I'm looking forward to getting down on the border and seeing it firsthand, and we hope you can come with us.